great thing about the warm and cool feedback strategy is that it lies in the structures of the exercise itself. The first thing is that it gets students to notice, and in particular for our students going to high school, it gets them to notice the criteria by which their assessments are going to be marked. In order to give feedback, either warm or cool, they need to give feedback according to those criteria. So they'll be saying something about the marking criteria which are being examined, and the language that they'll be using to assess the different student works that they're looking at it involves meta-language. So they're kind of learning the meta-language and the underlying structural and grammatical, punctuation, spelling things that are needed for each of the pieces of work that they're looking at. It gives them, the structure of the activity gives them confidence to participate in a group as well in a meaningful way, which is a really important thing. The fact that everybody gets warm feedback first is an encouraging thing, and it gives students confidence. They hear something, even though their work may not be as good as, obviously, as other students in the group, it's acknowledged. The good things that they do are acknowledged. And the tight structure of the language by which cool feedback is given allows them to learn from what other students are saying in looking at their work in a way which isn't personally directed at them, because the language is directed to the criterion that's being examined, and the feedback is about that. So it sort of, the language depersonalises it, but gives really meaningful and useful information to the person who is sharing their response or their task with everybody else in the group. In this activity that we are going to do, and which you will be doing more here and a lot more when you go to high school, you have to be able to listen to what somebody else in the group might think about your work. To do that properly and to do that respectfully towards each other, we've got some rules. Number one, norm or rule, we are all together responsible for the group. Number two, all of us, we take care of the others in our group and we listen very carefully. Number three, we help each other with a good heart because we want to help the others in our group. If there is a problem in some of the work, or if you need to say something which is critical or different, a person could do it differently, you do that very respectfully to the person.
We're going to start with a presentation by the student of his or her work. So this is Georgina's work. I am Georgina. All right, so I will show you my work, and I would say, I would present and describe my work, and I would use the words that you've got there. This is after I got the information from, and with this work I tried to. So let me give you an example. This is a diary entry. I got the information for my work from the notes at school and from reading the book, The Shark. With this work, I tried to give the perspective, point of view. Clarifying questions means questions that you then ask me, as Georgina, about what I did. If you don't understand something that I said, that's what a clarifying. Clarifying means to make clear. You would give some warm feedback. Warm means good, nice. Feedback means to tell the person what you think about their work. So warm feedback, it says comment on things that were well done in the work presented. This is not where you just say, very good. That's not feedback. That doesn't tell you anything. When you read it, I liked the way that you chose Chan because I chose Lynn, and this gives me, and do not put people down. Don't insult them. So this is not to say, oh, your work's stupid. Okay, you can't say that. That's cruel. That's this word, cruel. Cool just means where I think you would do better if you did something else.
Another great thing about this activity is that you can have a range of student abilities or a range of student responses to the task that you're looking at. And the ones who aren't so confident and aren't so good get to look at a good example of another student's response to that task. And they're not only looking at it, seeing that the student's written a lot of words or something like that, they're looking at the structures of it and they're looking at the grammatical features of it. So they are really led to look at the features which make a good text a good text. So in a very real sense, the students are really learning strongly from each other, and that's a big motivating thing for them as well.
This is an exposition test about the national park must not be damaged.
I got the information from my work from the book, the shop. With this work, I have tried to.
Now, has anybody got any questions?
Tried to be. What did you do to make yourself think like Chan?
I'm not sure I understand this. Please explain to me.
Cool feedback,
Third
person number
paragraph,
2.
like what do you mean here?
I noticed a difference in the way warm cool feedback operated over the two levels, in that what I noticed was that in level 2 the students were mainly focused on the structure of the writing. So they were looking at tense, they were looking at spelling, they were looking at layout on the page, and whether the students followed the format of, depending what they were writing, but was their conclusion, etc. And then what I noticed is that by level 3, the students were still doing that, but there was a greater depth of understanding being shown, in that I noticed some of the students were giving advice on the content of what was written. So the students would say, I like the part you wrote about X character or a feature that they were describing, but maybe you should have given more detail about that character or about that feature. And I thought that's great, because not only are they seeing all the obvious things that we've taught them, which are vital and necessary, but they're also looking at the depth of the writing and trying to give it more, I suppose, a more sophisticated level, which is great for going into mainstream, and what a great skill for them.
I think you're such a good speller. Your spelling and your punctuation is just awesome.
Many which words?
Your writing is very good, and the way you write there. Firstly, secondly, the linking words, so that it can make me understand when I read it.
I really like the way you start your sentences, your paragraphs, and for example, like you use your
Warm feedback
like your
person number
introduction
2.
is very clear, and you preview your all arguments here. I like it.
I really like your writing that is very clear and I can easy to understand what you said. And I think you are the protection.
Punctuation.
Punctuation is very good. That make your sentence was clear. And I think your conditional sentence is good at use if and make your sentence more interesting. And your linking words and the conjunction words is very good in your arguments.
I like the orientation is about her, and she told her where she came from. I can find good basic feedback from the story.
Basic background.
So it's good.
You like that? The very basic understanding deepened over time, and the more often they did the warm, cool feedback, the deeper their understanding of what they were looking at became. And the other thing I noticed is that students who came to us with very low level of English, beginning level 1 English, and very little schooling, were still, even at level 2, able to use the sentence stems successfully and look at the structure, i.e. linking words, things like that, and find them in the text and be able to say, I like the way you use linking words. What more could you ask of a student that came with very little to be at that stage already? What a skill for them.
Why didn't you told before why Lynn hates the casino?
Yeah, because ate up our money and got our dream.
No, you could.
Yeah, so what he's saying is because that's why I hate the casino, but he didn't tell why until after.
Oh,
Because I read it in the school and in the story like that.
she could write like this. The casino is about money. That's why I hate the casino.
Yeah, so he's just suggesting that next time to turn it around. So the casino took our money, that's why. Okay, Dad's going to talk to you now.
I think in the orientation you add a little bit more about the problem, the important problem we go to the casino and then money income.
Okay. So you think that in the orientation, bring the idea about we have a big problem from the casino, just a little bit, brilliant.
So another carryover from the way the language responses are framed, the way the scaffolding of the language responses to the task that's being examined by everybody is framed, is that the modality of that language is a fantastic thing for students to learn, because it gives them the language that can be applied in a whole lot of other situations. Being able to give cool feedback to somebody in a way that does focus on the feedback itself and doesn't have a you message to the person you're giving the feedback to is a really great strength to have. And if they get that and if they can learn that, they can really negotiate their way through a lot of difficult situations further along the line. So I think that's actually a really important spin-off from the structure involved in this lesson.
You don't finish this exposition. Perhaps next time you could try to write it quickly.
Maybe next time when you spelling words wrong, maybe you can write it again. Don't just write over the word.
I will concentrate next time. I will concentrate on my punctuation and commas and everything. I will write clearly. Next time I will write an interesting and I will think deeply about my sentences and I will start.
Next time I will leave a line between paragraphs. I will write furthermore, more interesting.
Yeah, I will be try to improve my exposition and other the spelling and conduction and everything, like linking words also.
It's useful, like you can know what the other people write and how, like if you have any mistakes or if you didn't understand things, so you can see other words and then you can understand what is it.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's very good.
I think there's many parts. I think part of it is that each time they do the group work, I think any teacher who's involved with the explicit part of the program, the explicit teaching part of the program, can assess what level they're at and try and push them a little bit more to look at different things. I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is each time they do it, they just become more familiar with what it is they're looking for, and they can look for it more quickly. And then once they get over the hump, I suppose, of really understanding the structure, then the structure becomes more natural to them and then they can concentrate on what is written. So it's definitely a progression. So it's good to do it over the two levels.
Mark, what are you doing now?
I'm assess for Nadia.
Najia's work? What is it?
The 100 house.
What type of text is it?
What is?
Is it a story or a
It's description.
description?
Yes.
It's a description. And you're getting that information from your book and your marking criteria.
Yeah.
How are you going to give her the comments? Where are you going to give the comments?
Nadia's page.
On her wiki.
Yeah.